This month, we continue to explore the origins and stories behind some fun colloquialisms and expressions. And I really hope you enjoy hearing these stories as much as I enjoy telling them. You probably know the feeling. That sudden rush of heat to your face, the thud of your heart skipping a beat, the creeping realization that someone saw you do the thing. Maybe it was sneaking a second slice of cake when you swore you were just browsing. Maybe it was an email you meant to send to one person, but accidentally sent to the entire department. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the unmistakable sound of a throat clearing behind you while your hand was still in the proverbial cookie jar. Whatever the situation, the results were the same. Eyes wide, jaw dropped, cheeks burning with the unmistakable blush of guilt. You've been caught red-handed, and the trouble is just beginning. Welcome back to Lexiconned, the show where words and phrases get the interrogation they deserve. I'm your host, TJ Martin, and today we're diving headfirst into everyday trouble. Those phrases we toss around when things go sideways, secrets spill, or plans backfire. So let's unpack this colorful chaos of 10 expressions that help us narrate life's minor disasters. First, caught red-handed, meaning to be discovered in the act of doing something wrong. Now, as you heard in the opener, that's being caught red-handed. But there's a grisly lineage behind this phrase. You see, in the 15th century Scotland, red hand meant you were caught with the actual blood on your hands, usually from poaching or murder. Now, the term was serious enough to be used in legal statutes, and by the time Sir Walter Scott dropped it into his 1819 novel, Ivanhoe, it had already begun making its way into popular language. Today, the phrase has softened. It's often used when someone's busted for sneaking snacks, or sends an email to the wrong person, or gets called out on a fib. But it still hasn't lost its sting. And it's not just English-speaking folks who know the shame of being caught in the act. Germans will say, auf frischer Tat ertappt, which literally means caught in the fresh act. Turns out, trouble speaks many languages. Next up, we have bite the bullet. Now, bite the bullet means to force yourself to do something difficult or unpleasant that you've been avoiding. Have you ever had to do something you were dreading, like getting a tooth pulled or making an awkward phone call? Well, that's when you bite the bullet. And several theories try to pin down where this phrase comes from. Each one adds a little texture to the meaning. One common belief is that soldiers in the 19th century, particularly soldiers of the American Civil War, would literally bite down on bullets during surgery to endure pain without anesthesia. See, the bullets were soft enough not to break teeth, and it gave the patient something to clench during unbearable procedures. And another theory links the phrase to the Indian Rebellion of 1857. At the time, British colonial soldiers were required to bite open greased paper cartridges to load their rifles. The grease was rumored to be made from pig or cow fat, offending Hindu and Muslim soldiers. Forcing them to bite the bullet meant enduring an act that violated their deeply held beliefs, which added a layer of moral conflict to the phrase. Regardless of the true origin, Rudyard Kipling helped popularize the phrase in 1891 in his novel The Light That Failed. But since then, it's become shorthand for taking action despite fear or discomfort. Whether it's filing taxes, giving a tough apology, or getting that overdue checkup, biting the bullet means facing the pain and pushing forward. And the sentiment isn't just English. Russians have a phrase that I will not attempt to pronounce, but essentially it means endure like a soldier. Next up, we have kick the bucket. Now, this is a lighthearted or euphemistic way to say that someone has passed away or died. And let's face it, talking about death is awkward. It's probably why we reach for expressions like kick the bucket. It sounds almost cheerful, even though it's just a roundabout way of saying that someone has died. But where did this oddball phrase come from? Well, one theory goes back to the Middle Ages, when pigs were slaughtered by hanging from a wooden beam or a yoke, sometimes referred to as a bucket. And when the animal kicked during its final moments, it would quite literally kick the bucket. Another darker theory imagines a person standing on a bucket to hang themselves, then kicking it away. Now, neither image is exactly lighthearted, but the phrase stuck around. It showed up in print as early as 1785 in Grose's Classical Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue, and since then it's helped generations sugarcoat mortality. Other cultures have their own take, like the French, who say casser à pipe, which means to break one's pipe. It carries the same oddly poetic tone, and however you say it, it's clear that we've always needed a softer way to say goodbye. Next up, skeletons in the closet. Now, this typically means hidden secrets or embarrassing past events that one wants to keep private. Let's face it, we've all got secrets, but some are far more scandalous than others. That's where this phrase, skeletons in the closet, creeps in. It paints a vivid picture that a hidden corpse is lurking behind closed doors, just waiting to be discovered. The phrase first appeared in print in the early 19th century England, a time when keeping up appearances was a matter of survival. Think corsets and calling cards and tightly laced reputations. But there's more to the story. One possible origin traces back to the grimmer corners of medical history. You see, in the 1800s, body snatching was a known practice. Doctors and anatomists needed cadavers to study, but they weren't all legally obtained. So a skeleton in the closet might have been quite literal, evidence of a stolen body hidden away to avoid scandal or arrest. Another possible angle draws from the Gothic literature of the period. You see, secret chambers, cursed bloodlines, and literal skeletons in the walls were all tropes used to explore hidden shame and generational secrets. Edgar Allan Poe did this incredibly well. And if you want to look at a more folkloric take, think of the tale of the Bluebeard, the nobleman who told his wife never to open one locked room, which turned out to contain the murdered bodies of his previous spouses. Now that's as close to the metaphorical skeleton in a closet as it gets. Today, the phrase is still in heavy rotation, from political exposés to celebrity gossip, and it's not just an English language idiom. The Spanish will say, tener un muerto en el armario, which literally means to have a dead body in the closet. So apparently the skeletons we hide transcend borders, languages, and even wardrobes. Number 5. To let the cat out of the bag. This means to accidentally reveal a secret or a surprise. So picture this. You've been planning a surprise party for weeks, and then, bam, someone blurts out, "So are you excited for your party tomorrow?" And just like that, the cat's out of the bag. The expression, while vivid and memorable, has somewhat murky origins. One of the more popular theories dates back to medieval marketplaces, where unscrupulous merchants might swap out a valuable piglet for a common house cat. Now, stuffing the feline into a sack and selling it to an unsuspecting buyer. If the buyer opened the sack before the purchase, whoops, out popped the cat, and the scam was revealed. Hence, literally, letting the cat out of the bag became a metaphor for inadvertently revealing a hidden truth. Another theory suggests the phrase may stem from naval punishment practices, where the cat of nine tails was a whip used for flogging, sometimes was kept in a sack or a bag, so letting the cat out of the bag meant that trouble was about to begin, particularly for the sailor about to be disciplined. Though this explanation is more dramatic, it remains highly debated. The phrase is also closely tied to the expression buying a pig in a poke. It's another idiom that warns against unseen purchases. Letting the cat out of the bag first appeared in 18th century English texts. Today, it's a go-to phrase for any kind of unintended reveal, and it turns out other languages are just as imaginative. Dutch speakers may say, "Die aap komt uit de mouw," or "the monkey comes out of the sleeve." So whether it's pigs, cats, or monkeys, secrets don't like to stay hidden. Next up, under the weather. This is a general phrase meaning to feel sick or unwell. Have you ever called in sick and mumbled, "Yeah, I'm just feeling a little under the weather"? Yeah, it's the phrase that we use all the time. But its origin is more than just clever imagery. One widely accepted theory points to a nautical background. You see, sailors who weren't feeling well were often sent below deck, literally under the weather, to escape the harsh conditions on deck. Shielded from the elements, they could recover in a more stable environment. Now, another theory speculates that ships would assign a sailor's illness to bad weather in the ship's log to explain a dip in morale or performance, thus blaming the weather for the crew's condition. Now, over time, the phrase drifted ashore, and it took on a broader meaning. The whole feeling of unwell, out of sorts, or simply not yourself. And by the 1800s, it had docked comfortably into everyday English, where it remains a gentle way to excuse everything from a hangover to a full-blown flu. Number 7. to hit the fan. Now, this means a situation suddenly becomes chaotic or disastrous. So when someone says, everything just hit the fan, you know things went sideways fast. And this phrase is a polite way of referencing a mess. The original phrase was, shit hit the fan. And the most widely accepted theory suggests it's a euphemistic take on a crude image involving excrement hitting a fan, resulting in the chaos both literal and figurative. So while this origin may not be the most appetizing, it really captures the shock and mess of a sudden disaster. Another possible origin ties the expression to the American military or industrial slang, where it may have referred to actual malfunctions or explosive breakdowns involving machinery, fans included. Now, whether mechanical or metaphorical, something hitting the fan signals an event spiraling out of control. And the sanitized version, everything just hit the fan, gained popularity in mid-20th century American English, offering a way to reference disasters with a dash of dark humor while avoiding outright vulgarity. It's among the workplace favorites and group chats when plans unravel spectacularly. And it turns out the sentiment is cross-cultural. Italians will say, succede un casino, meaning a mess happens. So apparently, meltdown mode is in fact universal. Next up, at the end of one's rope, meaning feeling completely exhausted, frustrated, or out of options. Now we've all felt it, that moment when your patience is gone, your energy drained, and you're ready to scream into a pillow. That's being at the end of your rope. The image likely stems from tethering livestock or climbing. When the rope runs out, so do your options. Another possible origin lies in the metaphorical use of rope to indicate the limits of one's endurance or resource. Once you've reached the end, there's nowhere left to go. No more room to maneuver, so to speak. Some also suggest that it may relate to the behavior of animals tied to a fixed line, pulling, pacing, and finally succumbing when the rope is taut. The idiom dates back to at least the 17th century and has remained a vivid metaphor for emotional exhaustion ever since. Whether you're a parent surviving bedtime, a teacher in June, or just someone who's had one Zoom call too many today, this phrase fits the bill. Number 9, burning the midnight oil. This means to stay up late to work or study. If you've ever worked late into the night, hunched over a desk, eyes stinging, you've burned the midnight oil. The phrase conjures the glow of a solitary lamp and the quiet determination of getting something done while the rest of the world sleeps. Before electricity, oil lamps were the only light source available for evening tasks. So, to burn the midnight oil was quite literally to work or study by lamplight. This expression dates all the way back to at least the 1600s, appearing in literary works like Francis Quarles' Emblemes, where it referred to the diligence and discipline of those who sacrificed sleep for productivity. Now, a theory suggests that the phrase may have had roots in its monastic or scholarly life, where early morning or late night studies were revered as a mark of devotion and seriousness. The metaphor spread beyond the religious and academic realms to describe anyone burning through their night hours for progress. Today, the phrase is practically a badge of honor in academia, entrepreneurship, and creative fields, even though it often hints at looming burnout. In Chinese, they use a phrase which means to drive the night car, a similarly poetic take on sleepless productivity. So whether it's a flickering oil lamp or the blue light of your laptop, the midnight oil still fuels the grind for many people. And finally, number 10, walking on eggshells, meaning to act carefully or avoid upsetting someone. Now you know that tense feeling when you're trying not to upset someone. That's walking on eggshells. The phrase paints a perfect picture of tiptoeing through a fragile situation, afraid that the slightest misstep will cause a crack. While its precise origin is a bit hazy, it likely stems from the literal idea of walking on real eggshells, a delicate act that requires precision and care. In the 19th century, the phrase was used more literally in descriptions of circus performers and delicate acts of balance. Now, over time, this metaphor took on an emotional and psychological meaning, describing the caution required when navigating volatile relationships or tense scenarios. It's become especially popular in the 20th century, often in discussions about difficult relationships, conflict-avoidant behavior, or high-stress workplaces. Now, whether you're dealing with a temperamental boss or an unpredictable family dinner, walking on eggshells captures that careful, uncomfortable dance. Now, Portuguese has a near identical version, pisar em ovos, or to step on eggs, because when tensions are high, it's best to tread lightly. So, whether you're caught red-handed, biting the bullet, or walking on eggshells, language has a way of cushioning our chaos. These phrases give structure to our stress and a little levity to life's messier moments. And while many of their origins are debated or uncertain, that's often because these expressions evolved gradually, passed down through spoken word, regional dialects, and cultural interpretations long before anyone thought to write them down. Well, that's it for this episode of Lexiconned. If it felt like we were walking on eggshells, discussing all this trouble, don't worry. We made a cracking good time of it. Anyway, I'm TJ, and this has been Lexiconned. Thanks for listening, and for caring about the words and phrases that shape the world we live in. Stay curious, stay kind, and be well. If you liked the episode, don't forget to like, follow, or share with friends. It really does help. As always, Lexiconned is written, recorded, and produced by me, your Logophile companion, TJ Martin. Thanks for listening.